We're going to discuss the topics that matter to you: race, single parenting, domestic violence, education, and now, the Hagir Show.
Hello and welcome to the Hagir Show. We are coming to you tonight with very special guests, and I will let them introduce themselves.
My name is Lori. I've known Hagir for years. I'm very blessed to be a part of her life. And this is my son, Justin.
Oh, hi,
And
Justin.
we are here today to talk about autism.
My name is Jesse Gant. I'm the founder and CEO of the Foundation for Hope. It's a nonprofit that helps people dealing with bullying, depression, and suicide.
Okay, well, welcome.
My name is Jamar Thrasher. I'm here to talk about, bullying and issues that face the youth and some strategies that can help resolve those issues.
Okay, welcome everyone. And I'm going to start with you, Lori and Justin. According to the CDC, 1 in 68 children worldwide, 1 in 6 children in the U.S. Have autism disorder. 4.5 more in boys, common in boys than girls. And before we talk about Lori and Justin, can you just talk to us about autism in general?
It's changed my life. I always thought that I would be the one to teach my child the way of the world. It's not true with a child with autism. They teach you their world. And we've gotten to the point where I am so ridiculously proud of him that now the role is reversed. Now I'm teaching him how to be a member of society. He's come such a long way. It has been a rough 15 years for him and for our family. It doesn't affect just him. It affects everybody that knows him. And I always say, to know Justin is to love Justin. He has the biggest heart, the sweetest smile.
He's loving that.
I know. Yep. I always knew something was different with him. As an infant, what infant doesn't sleep? He never slept. Never. Not more than 2 hours at a time. And then he would be up for 3 or 4 hours, sleep maybe for another 2 hours. And this went on probably until he was about a year old. And the only way I could get him to sleep is if he was sleeping with me.
Mm-hmm.
Met all developmental milestones on time, spoke, walked, everything early, sailed through the terrible twos. I thought, okay, we're past this. And, I jokingly say he turned 3 and it was like he got bit by the devil. He was very rigid, had to have everything a certain way, had to drink from a certain cup, had to use a certain towel. At that time, he had an obsession with Matchbox cars. I didn't know much about autism at that time. We lived in a ranch house, and he would line these Matchbox cars from the end of the hallway to the kitchen. I'm not talking 10 cars. I'm talking probably 100 cars. No, to me, there was no pattern. There was no rhyme or reason. Some were facing one way, some were facing the other way, some were touching, some weren't. There'd be maybe a huge gap between some. Next day, he does it again. And I'm like, this is insane. So I took pictures. Sure enough, the next day he does it. Flipped one. That temper tantrum lasted 3 hours because I flipped one Matchbox car. So I took him to the doctor. They told me there was nothing wrong with him, that he'll outgrow this. But I knew. I knew. It took me a year, and it was, I remember the date, it was Valentine's Day when he was 4 years old is when I finally got my answer. I finally got the diagnosis of autism. But during that, after that, regular school, I'm hearing repeated kindergarten. He sailed through first grade, no issues, no nothing. Second grade, that's when our nightmare began. He's fight or flight. If you don't touch him when he's escalated, he's not going to touch you, but he's going to run. He got lost in the woods by the school. It was raining. It was in October. They had an Amber Alert issued for him. They had search and rescue dogs looking for him. It was raining. And he had no coat on. He was locked in an electrical closet once, restrained by the IT person at the school. Then he went to CAP. It was the Capital Area Partial Program. And he stayed there through fourth grade.
Third, fourth, a little bit of it.
No, he went to CAP in fifth grade.
Yeah.
He did so well in CAP. He was in regular classes and, regular education more often than he was in CAP. So they had to discharge him. But we got lucky and were able to transition right into the Cumberland Valley School District. So he knew the school. He stayed at the school that he was at, but completed fifth grade in the emotional support class. After that, he went to sixth grade. That didn't go so well. Ended the year at Hilltop. The following year, he had 3 educational placements. Ended up with us pulling him out of school in April because the school was unable to keep him safe. So we got an independent evaluation done because they kept changing his diagnosis. He's schizotypical, he's schizophrenic, he's mood disorder, he's this, he's that. But it all came back to he's autistic. So this year, we found him a new school. He's doing fantastic. He started the school year on a 6th grade level, and he's up to an 8th grade level. He's doing really well. So if he got a D in one class, and do you want to tell me what class that was?
Social skills.
Okay. Was that hard for you as a class, or why, you think?
I don't like interacting with people.
Okay.
It's very challenging for me. Gives me anxiety, makes me nervous. What I want to be when I grow up as a veterinarian, which means I'm going to have to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a little difficult, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to put that aside and be able to cope with it like everyone else.
And you will. What is the hardest part about dealing with people? Do you think they're not going to understand you, or are they going to hurt, or what?
I don't know what causes me to not want to talk to people. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me butterflies in my stomach. When I'm nervous or anxious or really mad, my pupils will get dilated.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes turn pure black.
Mm-hmm. And how would that, when you were in your previous schools, did that cause issues with?
Well, they knew that I had that problem.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to help, but clearly didn't work. I mean, I'd like to say it has improved, but it's not 100% just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Hoping it will be soon.
You'll get there, babe.
Hope so.
I know so.
In life, we have to chase things. There is no 100% on anything. Everybody has their own issues that they deal with. But you clearly know you're trying and working on this.
I've been told that, he will never be a functioning adult. That's not one thing I ever believed. My mom, when he was born, bought this plaque and it had his name on it, and like little definitions of the meaning of the name. And at the bottom of the plaque it says he's destined for greatness. And I believe that. I do. He's got a kind heart. He helps everybody. This is the kid that will go, when he was younger, he would go trick-or-treating so he could come back to the house and hand out his candy. I mean, he's a good kid.
So you said you want to be a veterinarian.
Yes.
Okay. Why that?
Because I have a service dog.
Okay.
He's retired, but his name is Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
We got him in third or second grade about 7 years ago. I had to go through training, which lasted for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
I slept a lot better.
That was the first time. The first time we brought Thunder home was the first time he was 7. It was for 7 years for me. It was the first time he ever slept through the night.
Did that make you feel safe, or?
Yeah.
Or you just got attached to Thunder?
I think it was because I would want to have someone to sleep with me. And to this day, he still sleeps with me.
That's good.
The Thunder was trained in search and rescue because of the elopement issues. We were actually having issues with him leaving the house. So in the middle of the night.
Just then?
Yeah. We found him. One time he disappeared. We had a neighborhood party. He disappeared from the party. We ended up, calling the police because we couldn't find him. Here he had gone down to a neighbor's house, went into their house and fell asleep in their kid's bed. So that time we decided to put locks on the doors that he couldn't get out, and I would sleep with the keys on my wrist. And he's sneaky. He took
smart.
Those,
You're smart.
Yeah. He took
Say I'm smart.
He would get those keys off my wrist, and I had the window open, and I could hear something outside, and I really just didn't think anything of it. And the next thing I know, he's standing in my room, looking out the window, and he says, "Mr. Denny's outside. He's going to want to talk to you." So he actually left the house, went strolling down the street. The neighbor said something. He went back in, locked the door, to come up and tell me.
Do you feel like you want to leave, or you?
I don't know what I was thinking. I hardly remember any of that stuff.
What about now when you want to escape?
That's just to get away from the situation, because I want to be left alone and knowing that the school staff can't leave me alone because of safety reasons. So when I get agitated or irritated like that, everything just shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
My emotions, my sense of ability to feel anything. I will just keep going and I don't stop.
There was last year, it was Thursday before Christmas. I was picking his younger brother up from school, and I got a phone call from his dad asking me if I heard anything about Justin from the school, and I'm like, no, why? And his girlfriend at the time saw Justin walking down 581. I got a hold of the van company, and how I didn't get
A phone call? Or
yeah, I didn't get a phone call, and I don't know how I got there. I don't. That was a blur. I just remember my hazards was on, and I was honking my horn, and got off the X because I had to flip back around to go the opposite direction. I mean, I got off the Camp Hill exit, and I just cracked through. I just turned. And all 581 was backed up. Very fortunate that one of those roadside State Farm people stopped traffic so he wouldn't get hit. Camp Hill police were amazing.
So do you feel, I'm going to start with Justin, do you feel the school need to get more awareness and educated about how to deal with autism and how, or the police for that matter? Do you feel like they need to know about you more to help you? Or
They should know a little bit more, but they try in the best of their ability. I'm stubborn when I get upset.
You're honest.
Asking me to stop or standing in front of me isn't going to work. I'll find a way around you. And the only thing is take me down is the only way I'll stop. Or she shows up and then I'll go in the car and we'll go home.
It's like if I get there before they try to use any other intervention, it's like that. He stops. One time he was in the back of an ambulance, kicking and screaming and spitting and carrying on. He jumped in the ambulance, touched his leg, and he was done.
How is that affecting you? I mean, yeah, of course, we're going to go back to the same question. You think they need more?
Absolutely. We recently went through criminal charges. He was on probation for 6 months.
Why?
He eloped from the school, and they have a crisis plan, and it works. It has worked. Unfortunately, that day there was a visitor at the school that thought he was doing a good deed and stepped in front of Justin, and then Justin, stepped around him. He grabbed Justin by the arm. Justin flailed his arm, and he threw Justin to the ground, and Justin fought back, and the man was injured. The school did nothing. When I got there, they already had him restrained in the back of an ambulance. Refused to let me take him home. I mean, the ERs, they can't help a kid here.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. There's no place. Because by the time I get him there, crisis is over. And the only way to get your child admitted is if they're in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And, the police, I'm not going to name departments. He's not a criminal. He's autistic. He's not a criminal. We got very fortunate with the judge. And we got very fortunate with his
We're lucky he's
probation officer.
alive because
Exactly.
if you watch the news, I mean, so many people that got shot because of they
Oh, yeah.
misinterpret
I mean,
their action.
one police department said that to me. He's going to get tased. I'm like, he's a boy. He's a boy with a mental disability. You're going to tase my child.
And for you, you said you have to go and like Justin said, in order for him to calm down, you have to be there. How is that affecting your job? Are they understanding? Let's just put it this way.
No. I've lost 3 jobs. FMLA is a wonderful thing, but it only carries you so far. I'm very fortunate for special people in my life that have helped me. You know who I'm talking about. In my time of need. I feel lucky. I feel blessed. I always say my kids are Colin's my sunshine, he's my storm. He's taught me so much how to fight. I don't back down. You don't mess with my kids. You don't. A lot has changed. I've become stronger. I left my marriage, which he thinks is his fault, which it is not. He's reached a lot of firsts. Last year, he went to his first birthday party. He was invited to a birthday party. And, I dropped him off. I cried.
Mhm.
Like I've never
When
dropped
you
him
say
off anywhere. I
invited,
left. Yeah.
that's because he wasn't invited before, or he just
Right.
didn't
He
want
didn't
to.
have friends.
Mhm.
He's never had a best friend. He's never had friends over.
My son had friends over.
No.
Is that a choice, Jason?
It's me not talking to people.
Mhm.
He likes adults better than his peers. Always has.
We'll get back to this. And Jesse,
I'm so touched.
I know. Just, I mean, it's all gonna fall, and this is one of many series that we're gonna talk about youth mental health and a lot of issues that we face. I think sharing your story with Justin might be, and I think that's why I thought it would be a good fit to have all of us here today, because I admire you for everything you're doing and who you became, you know. So I will let you talk and tell us your story and what you do.
Well, and Justin, while our experiences aren't the same, sorry, I really relate to some of your struggles. I dealt with social anxiety my entire life, so being here in front of cameras, for instance, is just very difficult. When I was your age, a little bit younger, I was bullied in middle school from a rumor that went around about me. And the bullying was systemic. It went all through middle school, all through high school, led to dark depression and attempts to take my life. So I went through a lot of struggles, and a lot of struggles relating to other people, trusting other people, feeling comfortable around other people. It was a challenge. So I took that challenge when I was older and more able to comprehend it, and I tried to create a resource that other people could reach out to and find help in moments like I went through, or moments that I think a lot of us go through. I created the Foundation for Hope, which is provides education and outreach programs to people dealing with bullying, depression, or suicide. A lot of what we do and what we specialize in right now is education to educators, to the public, to police officers on how to help people with mental health challenges. And some of the stories that you shared with us, I've heard before, I've experienced before. I've sat with children as they go through those. I've sat with children after they've been tased for things that aren't their fault, that are not under their control, that these should not be punished for, and the punishment should be on the law enforcement officers or the administrators who didn't know how to handle that situation, not the individual that was going through a crisis. So that's, I relate very much to being in those scenarios where you're going through something that's outside of your control, and you're being punished for it. And I remember what that feels like, and I'm sorry that you've had those experiences where there's been times when you're going through a crisis and people didn't treat you the way you should have been treated and you deserve to be treated. So I'm sorry that you dealt with that. I'm sorry you as a mother dealt with that. And I hope you know that there's people out there that just love you exactly the way you are right now and think that see a lot of the same things that your mother sees in you. You're very smart. That's anybody that I think listens to a few words that come out of your mouth know that you're extremely intelligent and you're going to be a veterinarian someday. And you'll be able to achieve anything that you put your mind to. I know that for a fact. And I know that because I've seen many, many other children that have gone through your same scenarios. I've been a child that maybe I didn't share your experience, but I went through a lot of challenges myself. And from those experiences, we learn how to be more resilient than the average person. We learn how to be smarter, stronger. We know how to problem solve better than anybody else possibly could. And what I think is most important is we know how to empathize, how to relate to somebody, how to, we never know what someone else goes through, but we can understand what it's like to feel what they're feeling. And that's powerful. I've taken those experiences. I've created a nonprofit organization that's won multiple awards for our work in the community. And I've taken that experience in my nonprofit, and I ran for office, and I'm a member of the school board as of last Monday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we need.
Because I saw where we are now and where we need to be as far as our mental health services, our education of the educators and administrators. And I knew someone needed to make a difference, and it had to be someone that can understand what people go through. So I'm proud to roll up my sleeves and do some hard work.
We're glad to hear that. We're glad to hear that. And what is the organization currently doing? Or what? Let's just rephrase that. How did it become an idea? I mean, I know you said from the struggle, but do you want to explain more?
Yeah, we have a kind of a timeline. We've gone through a lot of evolution. We started as just an outreach and an awareness organization to talk about bullying, depression, and suicide, and make sure that people are more aware of the problems and the challenges that people face, especially our youth. 68% of people under 18 are going to go through a mental health challenge and are going to receive a mental health diagnosis at some point, whether it's temporary or lifelong. So I always say, when you're at the school lunchroom, look to your left, look to your right, and two of you are going to have a mental health diagnosis at some point in your youth. So we started as an awareness organization, and we grew into a direct service organization. We opened a hotline, a 24/7 hotline, which received over 10,000 calls from the local community. And then we started our education and training programs. And while our hotline is no longer active because we started to notice that more people want to text rather than call in, and we had trouble finding volunteers to match that need. Our education and training it's always been our bread and butter. It's always been what we knew would make the most impact, and that's what we're doing today. We have two main programs. It's Youth Mental Health First Aid, which is just absolutely vital in our communities. We're trained, if we receive a cut, we're trained on, and we have general knowledge on how to help that. But we have, as a society, absolutely zero general knowledge on how to help someone in a mental health crisis. So we have a long way to go. And mental health, whether it's youth mental health first aid or adult mental health first aid, helps bridge that gap. It's there for officers, administrators, stakeholders in the community, that really anybody that will at some point interact with someone in a mental health crisis. So we provide that training to schools and throughout the community. I'm also certified in our organization trains in NOVA, National Organization for Victim Assistance, our CRT training, which is Crisis Response Team. Those are the teams that, when a crisis happens at a school or at a workplace, whether it's traumatic or otherwise, they will go in and facilitate helping the people in that school and the staff and the people in the community around it overcome that adversity. So those are two extremely important educational programs that I feel are just extremely vital to our community, and we're happy to provide that service.
Okay, so now when you said you're in school, and we were earlier talking about how we can make this communication and fill that gap between the school and the staff there, and even the police with part of your organization. Did you consider, or are you going to consider, or if not, can you consider doing some more education about autism?
Absolutely. And sorry.
No. Yeah.
But hearing your story, and I'm very confident that you're not the only family that has experienced
and
this.
that's what worries me, because we can't be the only one. And, I forced myself to educate myself on the special education laws, what you can do. If you restrain my child, you need to invite me to a meeting in 10 days. And no, I'm not going to waive that. I've had to educate myself. I have a feeling that in our district, my name is going to be a name that they will know for a very, very long time.
Which is good.
That's okay.
And, my concern is, you have these specialized schools in this area, and a lot of kids have huge elopement issues. but they can't lock the doors. What I was told from one school that he was at, and on any given day, I would love to see the documented cases of elopement in that school. The school sits right off, the exit onto 15 is probably half a mile from the school. So if you have some kid running, they could just jump right on 15. Because the building is old and they do not have a sprinkler system, they can't put delays on the door. So, the district, was like, he can't go back there. It's not safe. Where is he supposed to go? Because no school has locked doors. You can't get in, but everybody can get out.
It's heartbreaking how underprepared we are and uneducated our schools are to help people and families that have a child that has autism. And the thing that I really am afraid of is there's wonderful mothers and families like you that advocate for their child and fight for their child and are there for them and help them grow and help them through those situations. But then there's also the other families that are not as involved and
strong as Lori.
As strong as you are. And those are the ones that really, really scare me. I've been telling people along in my campaign for school board that it's not the parents that you hear from that I'll ever worry about. It's the ones that we never hear from that scare me at my core. So I wonder if the school, does it allow the service animal?
Absolutely.
Allow them in there? Has that made a difference? Or?
When he was younger, yes, it kept him focused. It kept him on task because, because he would have to take the dog out for potty breaks and this and that. But what had happened is he's in these small classrooms, the dog's just roaming around. He was very generous with his dog. He would loan his dog, to people that were sad or teachers that were sad. Kind of got spoiled.
No.
So now, he didn't go to Hilltop because they have the therapy dogs in the building, and his mother is there, and they get naughty together.
Gotcha.
So now he's doing well. He doesn't need that piece anymore, and it's more of a hindrance than it is anything else. But when he has a bad day, that's when he needs his dog.
When last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, there were another incident of 10 years old who committed suicide because of bullying. I know this is not the case here, and I'm so glad that you didn't have to go through any kind of bullying during school, but this is an actual and real problem that we will deal with, not just when you have any kind of disorder, just if you're different, period. So what can we do more?
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point. My bullying experience was triggered by nothing. A very popular person saw me close to a nerdy kid in the school that everyone liked to bully. Because I was friendly with him, the rumor began. So some people are targets of bullying because they are different in some way, shape, or form. Some people are bullied for absolutely no reason at all whatsoever. There's programs like the Owens Bullying Prevention Program that are going through schools that are helping train teachers how to get more involved and how to intervene in bullying situations and how to notice warning signs. But if you ask me, the number one prevention from things escalating to a point of suicide or suicide attempts is involvement and someone asking the question, are you thinking about killing yourself? It's a very, very difficult question to ask. It's uncomfortable for us as parents or as adults to ask that question. And it's scary because you think of the ramification that question is putting that idea in the person's mind. But Studies have shown over and over and over again that it is not going to encourage someone to act out on that behavior. It's going to open the door to a conversation. No, I don't feel like killing myself at all.
Mhm.
Okay, no problem. Can you let me know if you ever get to that point, if that thought ever crosses your mind? Because if that goes through your mind, you talk to me. Well, now the door is open and you have a dialogue. And the scariest thing for someone that's being bullied is feeling alone and feeling powerless. Bullying, by its definition, is a power imbalance where the target feels like the perpetrator has power over them and is able to control them in a certain way. So that feeling of powerlessness is increased when you don't have someone to talk to, and especially the people that you trust the most, you don't feel comfortable talking to them. As parents, as stakeholders, as teachers, as anybody who cares, that's really difficult to hear. That someone might not trust you to tell you that they're being bullied or that they're feeling suicidal. But know that begins with the question: are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about? Are you very depressed? What's going through your mind right now? Talking and having dialogue will make all the difference in the world. I can tell you, in the middle of my depression, in the middle of my bullying experience, what I wanted more than anything, what I was most afraid of more than anything, was someone coming up to me and asking me, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" Mm-hmm. What I wanted more than anything is someone to come up and say, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" Because my answer would be, "My gosh, yes." Mm-hmm. Yes, and help, because I don't know, I feel crazy right now. I feel like the world's against me, and I don't know what's wrong, and help me, please. And the difference between the road that I walk down and a more positive road is someone to be there and say, "Are you okay?" And that's going to make the biggest difference in the world to any child or any of us as adults. And traveling down a negative road or being on a road towards positivity. So the dialogue is just utterly vital.
And that's the difference that you make, Lori. I know. It's okay.
Justin, he has said to me, I know the look now. We have a bucket list. He's going to do his bucket list. But I feel so lucky that he is comfortable enough to tell me when he is having feelings like that. And as a mother, it breaks me. I have no words to describe what that feels like, that your child hates the life so much that he doesn't want to be here. And that's something that, I'm so proud of him that he is able to recognize those feelings and be able to tell me that he feels that way.
Do you get those feelings often now, Justin, or you feel?
Usually if I forget to take my meds, which help me with my depression, then yes, I will have thoughts like that.
Or if you have a really bad day.
Yeah, if I have a really, really bad day, those thoughts will come in. But my medicine helps keep my anger in check, helps with my depression and my anxiety.
And mom, talking to mom, does that help?
Yes.
We have our best therapy sessions in the car.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what advice would you give to Justin?
Go to therapy.
I know you don't want to hear that.
But honestly, continue doing the positive things that you are doing right now, because you're doing good things and you're an amazing person. Keep reaching out to your mother and talk to her about your problems, because I wish I had your mother when I was going through my dark times. But just keep being yourself and have confidence and know that it's okay. It's okay for a lot of things. When you have any thoughts of depression, know that that's okay. All of us, whether we have mental health challenges or not, at some point in our life, will go through something that will trigger a depression. And almost every adult at some point has said, is this really worth it? Can I keep living? It's okay to have that thought from time to time. But when you have that thought, reach out to someone and talk about it. But know that that doesn't mean that you're crazy. That doesn't mean that something's wrong. That doesn't mean that everything's falling apart or that your hard work's not worth it. We're going to go through moments like that in life. That's normal. It's part of the human experience. Yep. But surround yourself with your mother and people like your mother that see the best in you, that see the light in you, that love you for exactly who you are, because there's more people out there than you even know that are going to love you for exactly who you are and support you for exactly who you are, no matter what. I'm living proof of that with all my challenges and everything that I went through. I felt like the most unlovable person in the world. But now I think that's a little untrue. I think
we love you.
I think I'm doing all right.
We love you. We're glad you're here.
Yep.
And I last time when we talked, you said if this Jesse right here can go back and talk to the old one, the one in Justin's age or the 12 years old, Jesse, there's a lot that you want to share.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there is a lot of Jesse's out there and Justin and Hagir and a lot of younger version of us who are going through a lot, and they want to hear what you want to say.
Yeah, and that is my I repeat that in my mind to younger Jesse all the time, that you're going to make it through whatever it is that you're faced with. You're way stronger than you have any way of comprehending right now. That you're going to make it through challenges that you thought would kill you. And most of all, that you're going to be loved for exactly who you are. And you don't have to change a thing about yourself. You don't have to conform. You can be yourself, and people are going to love you just for being yourself. And that should give you confidence. And I wish a 15-year-old Jesse could have repeated that in his head 1,000 times, because I would have saved myself a lot of struggles.
Do you think that's something you would do? Talk to yourself positively?
I do.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And do you have anything that you want to say to Jesse?
Life is hard, but if you have people that you can count on, it will become a lot easier.
You're awesome.
I know.
You're smart beyond your age. I'm glad you know that.
He's too smart.
Jamar,
Yes.
you heard money sides. What is your intake? What do you want to say?
I just think that, obviously I think you said it, having the resources, whether that's programs like you talked about or people like your mother. And I also think that allowing students to have safe environments is very important, because if you're a student and let's say you, like you talked about, you're living with autism, for example, and you don't have parents that are either
Supportive.
capable or willing, and you're in a school that isn't really structured to provide, a certain level of support that's necessary, I think it's going to be difficult. So I think resources and getting those resources is very important. And, the youth is, childhood is so important. Like, I think that's one of the things that binds us all together, is the fact that we all remember our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And as adults, a lot of the incidents and situations we've experienced in our childhoods impact us and how we view, perceive, and interact with the world. And I think for me, that's why, Kennedy Blue Communications, the PR firm that I run, we focus on youth organizations and youth initiatives, because a lot of times there are great resources available for youth, but no one knows about it, right? And so how do we get people to know about it? And how do we get those organizations to understand how to really communicate? And I think overall, what everyone needs to do, even people who have been a victim of bullying, is understand that they still can oppress other people. So even though and sometimes that's how it happens, where, one person is going through a difficult situation, then they see someone else. And so it's just a pattern of oppression, and just understanding that if you're going through a difficult situation, try to resolve it in a healthy manner, whether that's, therapy, whether it's, healthy living, hobbies, moving to a new location, but understanding that as you're growing outside of being a victim, to remember what it was like and not oppress those that you can, because, I think all people are capable of playing both sides at any point, right? I think that
there's a couple things that strike me. One is, it's amazing how none of our experiences are the same. We've all dealt with hardship and struggled with overcoming adversity. All of our adversity is different, but I feel like it's all taught us. It's forged in like fire forges iron. It's forged in us an ability to see strength in ourselves and see ourselves with confidence, and not depend on other people's perceptions of us to define our confidence. And you bring up the perfect point that the people that are bullying are not happy people. They're not perfect people. They're not doing it because everything is great in their life and that they have no adversity and everything's roses. They're doing it because something is wrong, and that they are feeling out of control, and that the only thing that they can control at that given moment is their words or their actions towards others. So people that are engaging in bullying behavior are not happy people too, and it's hard to have compassion for bullies. It really is. It's hard for me to have compassion for bullies, but we sure do need to have it because, like you said, they're not happy people themselves, and their lives aren't perfect, and we have an opportunity to affect their life positively as well and change their lives. So there's an overarching lesson, I think, for all of us, is compassion and empathy. They're two things that I think this world is really lacking, and I think is how much it's lacking is exposed more and more every day. And if we're able to teach ourselves and our peers, and especially our children, more compassion and more empathy, I think we can make the world a better place. Maybe my optimism or nostalgia, but that's what's missing in the world today. And I think it's the medicine that our society needs.
And definitely Justin has that.
Yeah.
And this is I like this. I like you to hear that, because this is what just you can do, Justin. They're giving back to the community. They're finding a goal, finding something that makes them happy, and something that it will make their life has meanings. You have a PR. Yeah, and I'll have you tell us what you do also. And Jesse's foundation is helping, and that if we learn one thing is, regardless of what life throws at us, we can either choose to take a negative road or a positive road, and you have the option. This is the version of you, maybe 15 years from now.
He has even said that, he's wavered. I mean, he's been wanting to be a vet since he could say the word dog. But he has also expressed interest in being, a counselor or a therapist because he gets it.
Yeah.
He's lived it. He's had those horrible things happen to him, and it just made him
or a spokesperson, educator. You can help with the school system, like Jesse's doing now with the
So
board.
much to learn from you.
Tell them, hey, when I was at 6th grade, I wish if someone did this to me.
You have the
Would
world
help
at
me.
your fingertips, bud. You do.
What do you think? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
One thing I feel strongly is, a lot of people think that if we have a diagnosis or if we have a mental health challenge, that's a disability. And I hate that word because, and it's because I fundamentally don't believe that a mental health challenge or a diagnosis is a disability. I think it's an opportunity.
It makes them unique.
Exactly. And you know how to overcome a challenge, and that's something that a lot of adults never, ever learn, ever in their life, is how to overcome a challenge. And you know it. So you've got a tool that nobody else has. And if you want to be a veterinarian and a therapist, you can do both. You have that ability. If you want to change the school system, you can do that. You have every opportunity to make the world a better place, and if you don't want to make the world a better place, just make a really, really happy life for yourself, and that's all you owe anybody. I'm excited I hope we stay in touch because I'm excited to see what you do because I think you're going to change the world.
All right. Can you tell us what you do?
So right now I have a firm, a communications firm. It's called Kennedy Blue Communications. So it specializes on youth organizations and youth initiatives. Initially, we started out doing a lot of stuff in, the public sector, working with elected officials. But when I looked at my own interests and why the company was even started, it's actually, my daughter Kennedy, when she was born, I figured that, I wanted to have something to pass on to her. And I knew that as an employee that you necessarily can't pass on your position to your child. And, I just like the idea of entrepreneurship and, creating things. So we're going through some developments right now, looking at, courses and workshops and, ebooks, because what I found is a lot of organizations and a lot of individuals are doing their own public relations. They're doing their own media relations. They don't necessarily have to hire anyone, because when you hire someone, the firm you choose, you don't know if their interests align with you or if a journalist has a bias against that firm. So you control your own narrative by creating that channel. The difficulty is teaching these organizations how to find newsworthy content. So that's content that's appropriate for mass media, not the content that's typically found on your social media or newsletter. You have to find information that's newsworthy. And, what I like about reaching the youth is that, like I said, getting organizations or individuals to share their news, to let parents, students, teachers know that these resources are out there. And one point that I do want to add, a very sad point, is my cousin actually committed suicide. And I didn't know that he was depressed. I do know that the weekend that he did commit suicide, he called everyone in the family. And I could tell he sounded stressed and he was going through a lot of personal problems at the time. And unfortunately, he didn't know how to deal with it. And I know that if he would have been able to find resources or talk to someone, and that goes back to your point with the stigma of therapy and mental health issues, that I don't even know if he would have sought help, but at least if he would have known, that could have been an option. And, that happened close to a decade ago. And, it's very sad and unfortunate. And when that does happen to someone you're close to, I wouldn't say you feel like you blame yourself, but my initial thought
You
was
feel
I
responsible.
could have helped or prevented if I would have known, but I didn't, and it was a total shock to the entire family.
Point that I stressed to you and I stressed to myself because I've been around people that have taken their life is that it's not your fault at all. I know you know that, but do you know that?
Yeah.
We're not equipped with the tools naturally to help someone that's in a mental health crisis. It's not something we're born with. It's something that needs to be taught to us. So the fact that you didn't know how to respond in that situation, or you felt like you could have done something better, or any of those things that we all think about in hindsight, know that that's not your failure. That's our society's failure for not equipping you with that knowledge and for allowing a stigma on mental health to exist for so long. That we're ingrained to run away from mental health problems, not to jump in and engage. Mm-hmm. So it's not your fault. It's extremely sad what happened, and I'm extremely sorry what happened. And thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for sharing his memory, and thank you for sharing mental health challenges. And that's my thought for all of us is that the one thing we can do that we have control over is putting a spotlight on what we're going through, what we've been through, and our challenges. It's not easy for any of us to sit here and talk about our challenges or to be out in the world talking about our challenges. But when we put a spotlight on our challenges and mental health challenges that anyone faces, the stigma starts, we whittle away on the stigma. We knock down the feeling of being alone, of being that no one else is like me. We whittle that away. So Hagir, thank you so much for allowing us to have that forum and have that discussion. It means a lot to, I know, everybody here, and it's going to mean a lot to everyone that's watching.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad to have both of you here. And one thing that you said that I always repeat, if we don't talk about things, they will stay anonymous or they will stay in the dark. The only way we can face our challenges and face that darkness is by shining light and raising awareness. What you both doing, just talking simply and doing what you do with the foundation or with the news, it's raising awareness and educating. And I think if one person can hear this and learn from it, your mission is accomplished.
And I think that, hearing what both of you have said, if you need us in any way, I'm there. And, one thing you said, nobody has taught us how to deal with our challenges. I have an amazing teacher.
We have an amazing teacher now. Well, everybody's going to learn from Justin by just coming here and talking or just listening to us talk. Like he said, when you open your mouth, you sound, sincere. You're very smart. You know what you're doing, your goals. And it might not feel like it right now, but trust me, in your age, we didn't think or said half of what you're saying now.
He's come a long way. I am so proud of him.
What do you want everybody listening to you now out there or someone going through what you went through to know?
Well, one thing you should know is don't judge a book by its cover. Doesn't matter what you see or hear, it matters what you experience yourself.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, Justin and Lori, and thank you all for coming. And the last thing that we want to just say and emphasize, education, raising awareness. This is the only way we can change or make a difference. And with that note, you guys all have a good night and stay focused.